All right, back here with you on Pirate Radio Live. Special guest joining us in studio, Ross Gordon, the play-by-play voice of Norfolk State. And Ross, thanks so much for joining us, man. We always talk to the voice during game week, but this is the first time we've had anybody in this studio, so you're the first. Welcome in.
No problem, man. Good to be here. I told you I was coming.
You did.
I told you I was coming. I told you we'll talk about how bad the Commanders will be and how good the 49ers will be this year. I said we're going to have that conversation.
I was hoping we'd get your wide receiver, but I don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk, so we'll wait and see on that one, right?
He's going to be a 49er.
Okay, all right. You can speak it into existence, maybe.
That's all that's happening.
Ross, it's week one for us and a lot of teams. Already game two for Norfolk State. How about a wild one last Saturday that you go for two, don't get it. Just a crazy game. From the outside looking in, I can say as a football fan, it was an enjoyable game. You wearing that green, obviously wanted it to go a different way, but can you still enjoy for what it was, even though you took the loss there?
I think so. I think one of the things that any person, any fan would like to see is some growth. And last year, we were in a lot of situations like that, and we didn't seem like we were going to come close. I think we showed some growth. We showed some maturity. It's just small things. In game one things. I think you had a bad snap on a field goal opportunity, which would have given you a lead. You had a missed opportunity before that on the extra point that was blocked, even though it was an offside penalty. So small things, and really look at our special teams game. Could have played a little bit better, but you credit FAMU for making plays down the stretch to win that game.
Ross Gordon joining us. So yeah, game could have gone either way. Florida A&M wins it. Now Norfolk State has to get off the mat and get ready for tonight. So let's kind of talk offense, defense with you. First with the offense, defensive coordinator of the Pirates, Blake Harrell. When I asked him Wednesday about Norfolk State, what stood out, he said I think he called him Thunder and Lightning, the two-headed monster there at running back. Is that really how this offense can get going if you can run the football?
I think so. Kevon King played well. He played well. 10 carries in the first half, over 100 yards. Only 4 carries in the second half for 20. He's solid. Xavier Evans played well as well. So it gives you an opportunity to have a little bit of scat, a little bit of power for Kevon King, and Xavier Evans is a power back. So we ran the ball well. You talk about that thunder and lightning. I think that was a nice thing to see, but I don't think we want to be a team that relies on thunder and lightning. Only throwing the ball 9 times.
Right.
7 of 9, I think, is one thing you look at and you say you want to be better.
Yeah. And for folks not following along, I make a quarterback flow chart. So Jaden Daniels is the former LSU quarterback now in Washington. There's a Jalen Daniels out in Kansas,
Correct.
And there's a Jalen Daniels we'll see this weekend, so it can get confusing. But how about this guy thrown into the fire a little bit, right?
Right, thrown into a little situation where Otto Coombs is who's still on the roster, but due to some NCAA issues, he won't be playing until Game 5. Jalen Daniels, who was a South Carolina transfer, started there as a walk-on, played a JUCO ball last year, and didn't know what he was going to bring. Honestly, because he's never played on this level, but he looked sharp, he looked confident, and he looked competent in the offense. He only threw the ball 9 times, but he had about 11 opportunities, so he ran twice off of those passing opportunities. But he looked sharp. Every pass was on the money. Went deep twice, and we saw a little threat on the outside, which is good. But again, he didn't play bad, and that's something that you want to see from your quarterback. Week 1, no turnovers, and really kept the offense moving.
Ross, we're in the dark about what the CCU offense is going to look like. New quarterback, new coordinator, a lot of new parts. The running backs we know very well. O-line we know pretty well. But as far as who's behind center and who he's throwing to, that's going to be all new. Have you talked to the defensive staff at all this week? Because I'm fascinated to hear how you go into a game like this. What are you scouting? Are you looking at Ole Miss because John David Baker came from there, or are you looking at Jake Garcia film from years ago when he last played quarterback? Just a ton of unknowns on ECU side. So what does that mean for your defense?
Number one of the things we do know is that we know Coach Houston wants to run the football.
Yeah.
So you don't have to question that. You have to be stout up front. But you do watch a little bit of the Ole Miss, and you do watch a little bit of some of the guys' tendencies. But I guess game 1, you look back at what happened last week, and you have to say we're going to have to do a better job of stopping the pass. We didn't do a great job in the second half of really clamping down on the outside. And I think that's one thing that I think people are going to look at. I think our front seven is going to be really good, but it's in the back four, in the back end, to see where we end up. And I think that's one of the biggest things. We struggled in short passes last week, and if you look at an Ole Miss, really quick tempo.
Yeah.
But it's one of those situations where they take what the defense gives them, and we're gonna have to do a better job of not giving up everything.
You mentioned, what you want to improve on, the old cliche, you make your most improvements week 1 to week 2, right? And so, first of all, what are some other things you want to see there? And also, did you come out of that game? You were big underdogs in that game. Norfolk State was saying, "Hey, we got something here. These boys can play."
And I think one of the things going into the game, Coach Odom said, we have a good football team. The question is, can you put it together?
Yeah.
And week-to-week basis, can you put it together? Last year, we had 7 games that you lost by 2 touchdowns or less, and now you're in a situation where your first game you lose by 1. Can you make the plays down the stretch? Can you make winning plays in the first half? I think the first 2 drives, you run down and you run the ball successfully, and you get 2 touchdowns on the high. But what happens after that? Now, it's the middle of the game, controlling the small things. Not only just being consistent running the football, but I think one thing that Coach Jason Phillips, who said after the game, the offensive coordinator, he said, we have to do a better job of not protecting Jalen Daniels this week. And last week, I think we sort of held his hand a little bit so he wouldn't make mistakes, but he showed us that he can make some plays, and that's one of the big things I think from week 1 to week 2 that we have to sort of move in that direction. Can we be just as effective throwing the football as running it?
Ross, one thing I've learned is these players move on quicker than fans do. I can still think of old ECU games and old Redskins games that I'm still bummed about. That, man, if we'd have done this, we'd have won. If Michael Westbrook doesn't throw his helmet down in the game against the Giants in 1997, we win that game, go to the playoffs. But talking to players, they have to move on quick. I bring that up to say, an emotional game last week, you're so close. Are you worried about a letdown at all for your guys, the emotional hangover type thing?
I don't think so, and I think that's one of the good things. One of the good things that you look about the leadership of this team, not Coach Odom's specifically, but the leaderships. AJ Richardson and Kevon King, they're very, very next week focused. After the ball game, hey, we were in it. We know we can play, but can we make the winning plays during the game? And you mentioned Michael Westbrook. If Patrick Mahomes isn't born,
the butterfly effect.
Yeah, the 49ers are champions twice, and so it happens. And I think one of the big things for us is last year's team lost games, and you saw it after the game. Right after the game, like, oh man, we got to go next week, and that's what happened. It was game 1, and I think they have an understanding of when you look at the spread for last week. It was 15 to 16 to 17 points, and people thought it wasn't going to be close. And you really were in the game, and you had a chance to win it.
I think the number's pretty darn high this week. I'm sure you folks do as well. But 33.5, again, there's too many unknowns for me to know where to go with that line. But I don't know. Is that bulletin board material or anything, or is it just one of them things you ignore?
Being in this profession for as long as I have been, there's one thing, and you talk about it all the time. The third and fourth quarters, when your guys who are bigger, stronger, have a little bit more in the tank, get to wearing on people. You hope it's not 33. You just have to come out and make some plays early. And I think if anybody would say, "Hey, look, I saw what ECU did last year," I know a lot of people would say, "Well, y'all have a chance after what y'all did last year."
Hell, we couldn't get to 33 last year. Much less cover by 33. So.
Yeah, but with the excitement of a new coordinator, where he came from, and you're seeing what Ole Miss did, and seeing what kind of excitement they had down there, especially putting points on the board. Of course, somebody would say maybe 33 is a good number.
Yeah, Ross, what you gonna do while you're here in Greenville, man?
Man, I'm gonna explore. I'm gonna see what's going on down here in Greenville. I thought I was gonna make it today. Because of traffic, but I made it. I'm excited about going and touring the campus a little bit. I was excited about going to see some of the facilities. Not football, of course, but basketball today. Just see what's going on down in Greenville. Nice place.
Yeah,
Place.
good
Nice
deal,
place.
man. Well, hope you enjoy your time here. Hope you get some good barbecue or whatever you're into.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We know a few spots, so we'll give you some tips on that. But thanks so much for hanging out with us, man. Have a great call on Saturday, and we'll talk to you again down the road.
Hey, I look exciting to be here, and thank you for having me back.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
All right, we'll wrap.